Dun, 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 dun.
Hey, yo, it's me, Pops Fan Marmalade, and you're watching the Comics Related Madness Network. Huh? So come get some. CromCon. CromCon.
All right, we are here. Thanks for joining, guys. Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you fine.
All right. Hey, first off, guys, I want to thank you so much for coming over. We're very honored to have with us here today. We got some of the greatest artists in the cryptid-based field, which is a field that I'm very passionate about. Before we start, let's just go around the room real quick and say who we are and how we are affiliated with this cryptid project. What's going on? Start with you, Rodney.
Hey, everybody. I am Rodney Fike. Excuse me, Rodney Fike, artist, writer, in the independent field for longer than I'd like to acknowledge. I did a Mothman piece on a Thursday Night Throwdown a couple weeks ago, which Tim has been pimping the hell out of. So thank you, Tim, for that.
Yeah, you're welcome.
So yeah, that's what I do. I write and I draw. You can find me on Thursday Night Throwdown at the Indie Comics Network and Hazm.com, HAZZUM.com. It's our site where you can check out all of our books.
Thanks, Rodney. That's a good group too. Next up, Aaron. While you're talking, I'm going to quick show the design that you made over your. This is one by Aaron. Go ahead, buddy.
Yeah, so I'm a writer, also a graphic designer and an editor, and I own and operate Catalyst Comic Studio as well as host Beards and Comics podcast. And on this particular project, I did some logos. So, boom.
Yeah, and man, they came out great. By the way, there's a couple of them that we're going to show, and I'll get into that as we go forward. But there's also we made some laser engravings out of them. They're like wood slabs with the designs etched into it.
Yes.
But next, let's jump over to Derek, who I have at the ready here. Hey, Derek, tell us a little bit about what you're doing, man.
So it's ironic. I, too, launched my second comic book today. A little over 50% backed already, which is nice.
Nice.
It's a combination of Vampire the Masquerade and Shadowrun. I very blessed. Mark Reinhagen, the creator of Vampire, publicly called me on broadcast the next Tim Bradstreet. So that made me feel very, very humble. So I do a lot of horror stuff, cyberpunk stuff. I can draw cute kitties and puppies, but nobody ever wants that. So on this, I think I did 3 or 4 pieces. I love Cryptid, the mythos about it. I live in Appalachia by a Cherokee Indian reservation. There's so much lore here. And I'm just humbled to be with all these great people here. So thank you.
You're welcome, buddy. It's good to have you. Rich, I'm so glad you came, man.
I'm so glad you invited me. Thank you,
yeah. It isn't a party until Rich gets here. What's going on on the other side?
On the other side of the pond? Well, nothing. It's black here in the United Kingdom. It's 10 o'clock in the evening, actually. And I am just simply throwing some marker micron pen because I'm too lazy to break out the quill or the brush and I don't have any ink. Just finishing inking this, or just starting to ink this fire goddess piece that I just decided to draw for no apparent reason, and now I'm going to use whatever little expertise I actually have to finish it while I am on this graciously full of talent god podcast type
All
thing.
the
Where it's like
titans of the art and
all the
podcast world.
titans of the indie comic universe.
The best part is we are a very cryptid-centric sliver of artistic creativity right here in this room.
There is plenty of cryptic talent in this room because it's really awesome. Do you know why?
If you pull my finger, a cryptid might run underneath my chair.
That's
Hey, let's jump over to Brian. Brian, thanks for coming, buddy.
Oh, thanks for having me. I really appreciate the invite.
Yeah, we
Hey,
had
man.
a great time on the show the other night.
Yeah. Yep. Enjoyed the Thursday night throwdown you were on with Rodney. We had a good time. Always a pleasure being on Thursday night throwdown.
I really dug your piece here, which is the Mothman. The lighting of it, man, it's insane.
Thank you. I actually I drew that one digitally. I draw both digitally and, traditionally. I drew that one digitally and did a time lapse of it, which I posted on my Instagram, I believe. So you can see from start to finish how it ended up there. But I really thought it'd be a cool idea to have the lightning going behind the wings and you'd be able to see just how thin the wings were with it coming through a little bit visually.
Nice. Great job on that one.
Thank you very much. I guess I should introduce myself. I'm Brian Nyford. I am a writer and artist. I currently am about to launch the Kickstarter for the 9th issue of my book, Monsters the Forsaken. It is a story about Dracula and Frankenstein's monster and turning them into the heroes of the story. I'm a big fan of cryptids, all things cryptids. I got to recently do a poster for the Georgia Bigfoot Con, obviously.
Nice. Awesome.
And
Bigfoot Con
posters for the Frogman Festival that took place in Mason, Ohio recently.
Sure.
I didn't know there was a Bigfoot Con in Georgia.
Yeah, it was the third one. It was the first one at this Dillard location. I was actually supposed to go. It was this last Saturday. I guess it was a huge turnout. It was at the Dillard House in Georgia. But we are in the midst of a move and spending 4 days. We were going to be down there for 4 days. Just wasn't going to work for us. So I had to cancel the appearance down there.
I would love to do something like that.
Yeah, it would have been fun. I think it would have been a really good time. It was a 2-day con and just too much for us right now.
A real quick question for everybody, because I think we all like cryptids. If any one of us had true proof of, say, Bigfoot, would we really want to share it with the world? Because then they would not leave the dude alone.
I would say no.
No.
Yeah,
I would, because I like to cause trouble.
Should be hunted for sport.
I find it funny that all those shows searching for Bigfoot and whatnot. In my opinion, ancient aliens and all that stuff, which I love all of that stuff, but if they ever stumbled across the little green men or the Bigfoot or any of those people, they would never, the networks would never let them air that episode on TV.
Right.
Well,
And two, those people would mysteriously disappear or die of phantom heart attacks in their bedrooms or something, and they would cover it up because they don't want us to know what we don't know.
They would have died of suicide with like 5 bullets to the head. God damn, that would have been really horrible. How'd that happen? Oh man.
Welcome,
Tried
David Lee.
5 times.
Howdy, y'all.
Right? Hey,
Hey,
David Lee.
so we were just talking about our favorite cryptids and so forth. What is your favorite cryptid?
What's a cryptid?
Legendary unseen animal along the lines of the Mothman, the Loch Ness Monster, Bigfoot, things like that.
I like
Sure,
Leslie. I was reading a biography of Jorge Luis Borges about a year ago by Jay Perini. And they have this whole chapter of them going up to go see Nessie in Scotland. So I guess Loch Ness. I didn't know it was a cryptid, though.
Yeah, you're not familiar with that word?
I'm not, no.
Well, there you go. Hey, we have done our work here today.
Perfect.
Yeah,
I
and
thought it
I'll
was
also
more of
listen
like
to
a crypto alternative or something.
You'll be
I
out
wasn't sure.
woods looking for Bigfoot before you know it.
Yeah. Here's another one by Derek. As we were going through this project, which by the way, I was trying to time it with a drum roll, but we have officially launched. You ready for that? So we've even got a couple of customers already. So that's great news. If you'd like to check that out, that's Call of the Cryptid over on Kickstarter, a visual adventure. I hope you guys can check it out. We've got digital versions, all kinds of cool stuff. But I want to jump back and talk about some of the artwork. In this case, this was the Loch Ness Monster designed by Derek Stevens. And this was in the stage when, we were kind of doing concept art for the project. Like we hadn't even done any pages yet, actually, I think, when he first started doing this. So Derek, what's the inspiration behind this one?
Man, it's an old black and white book I got in the library, or from the library when I'm almost 52. So it's an old book. But the classic, like the little neck thing. Yeah, I always wanted to zoom in and see, really, is it a plesiosaurus? What kind of saurus? If it is a saurus, is it? So that's what I base my design on, is more of a plesiosaurus. But I want the neck to be reminiscent of something with a dragon, as I'm like playing with my hand. But that's where I got my inspiration from.
Cool.
And I wanted to show some sort of motion coming out of the water. There's a lot of my stuff, again, the vampire stuff, you have a cool dude or a hot chick. Ooh, I'm a vampire. Not a lot of motion a lot of times. I'm established. Here I am. So it's fun to be able to put some motion into a picture.
Nice. Did that work there? Let's see. There we go. I'm starting to bounce the images out. Thanks for your patience. There's one by Aaron too. And man, some of these colors, like I love the deep greens and the deep purples. Aaron, what's some of the inspiration behind when you make designs like this?
I've always liked the real bright pops of color. And I usually use a color scheme that's like cyan to like a bright pink hue for like all of the Beards and Comics stuff. And I think that's what you originally saw and messaged me about. So I knew you wanted bright colors, so I just went for that.
Yeah, I really dig it's kind of like an iconic style that's very, very, I guess I'd say memorable, right? It's something that jumps out at you. Because that was one of the challenges we had in this project, was some of the artwork is sort of, a little bit more on the highbrow side, right? Like it's got a little bit more of a hand painted look to it. I'll jump through a couple of the colors.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, that's gorgeous.
That is wow. Oh wow.
Yeah, and what we're going for, right? This is, I feel comfortable telling it to this group. I got to try something different, right? Because I'm not necessarily a superhero guy or any of these things that are doing so well on Kickstarter. I'm a sci-fi person, so really my closest level of entry is a cryptid adventure, right? And what we're trying to strive for here is a sort of, we would call it like a hand-painted look. There's an homage for you if you recognize it. It's Fantastic 451. Do you know that one? This man, this monster, right? And this, for the first time, there's going to be a black and white version. People have said things before along the lines of, hey, well, we're fans of the Curtis magazines of the 70s or the classic 70s monster magazines, along the lines of Creepy, Eerie, Vampirella, some of these titles that were so classic. And the idea being that it would be just this black and white issue the whole way throughout. But the cover will have the green shimmering foil logo.
Nice.
Oh, nice. Shimmering foil. That's cool.
Well,
go for something. Go ahead.
I said, well thought out and put together.
Well, thanks, man. And the idea is that we're going to, try and reach out to the cryptid fans. And, there's going to be different ones each issue. The first one is basically your arc of the first one. You're going to see the UFOs, the aliens, two kinds, the men in black, and Bigfoot is the spoiler. It's not really a spoiler because he's in all the ads. But each one is each book has like a featured cryptid or two. And then till it all ramps up, it ends on the fourth issue. And I guess the plan would be to do the first Kickstarter and then number 2 and number 3 together. And that ends on a cliffhanger. And then number 4, which you could get all 4 issues, or it would be a trade that you could purchase at that point too. Also got this one. If you like purple covers, this is sort of like an X-File. Isn't that cool?
Yeah, that's
Which
nice.
one?
I can't stand aliens. They scare the shit out of me.
I like aliens. Aliens smell nice.
Well, and what we're shooting for there is that people who sort of dug these older shows like the X-Files and, the Project Blue Book, and Rodney, I know I'm speaking your language here.
Oh yeah, great show on the History Channel, Project Blue Book.
Any kind of thing, if you like that sort of thing, like Ancient Astronauts or any of that, it's all tied in together. And in this case, it is it's what we would say is maybe what you call a modern reimagining. Like everything's not always what you think it's going to be. For example, the Bigfoot is like, he's a sci-fi Bigfoot. He's the thinking ape. So he has kind of like this impressive vocabulary, and he wears these goggles for when he travels between the dimensions, stuff like that. He's Bigfoot, right? You can tell he's Bigfoot, but he's maybe not what we thought.
I just want to go on public record. I'm very happy with my life. So if we get too close to the truth and you find me someplace I'm not supposed to, 6 feet under, that's not me. It's because of you and the government, okay?
All right, man. All right, bro. Damn.
In the Earth Dog Studios tradition, we got kind of a thing going where it tends to be female protagonists. In this case, it's Cadence Malloy, and she's a slightly atypical teenager who's got problems of her own. But the whole idea is it quickly takes a supernatural turn. I guess you'd say more so of a paranormal. Paranormal's probably more like it.
I was just on watching a podcast a couple days ago about talking about supernatural. What do you guys think supernatural means?
Not defined by the sciences, probably.
Yeah, I think that's a good one. Like paranormal activity. Would you say like aliens are a paranormal activity, or that's just?
I would say, yeah, I'd say paranormal.
Okay.
I really believe it depends on what you think aliens are. There's a large group of people that believe that aliens are interdimensional demons. So if you go that route, it's sci-fi horror. Or if you believe in the alien, hey, I'm coming from another planet.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
I lean more in that direction myself, personally.
Interdimensional, you mean?
With the demonic, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's pretty likely. Especially, like, I was talking to Rodney about this. You go back through history, like he and I talked on the air about modern UFO sightings. But you go back to the biblical stuff, it's creepy back there.
Yep.
Well, a lot of the descriptions and stuff are tellings of all of those events back then in biblical times. They lack the vernacular to describe what they were seeing, so they had to use modern terms and stuff to try to describe what they were seeing. So when you're reading that, you have to try to deduce for yourself what exactly are they seeing, and kind of read between the lines and like, oh, they're actually seeing a UFO here. So
yeah, exactly.
it's fun because it's interpretive. You can 100 people can read the same paragraph and everybody get a different take on what it is.
That's right.
Yeah. Well, and one thing I wanted to touch on too, and I'm pretty sure a couple of us in this room are musicians. Aaron, you're a guitar player, aren't you?
Yep, guitar and singing.
Nice. Okay. We, we're songwriters over here, right? And I wanted to do something in the book that had it's kind of like a 1980s heavy metal kind of story, right? And I wanted to have the lyrics, and I like comics where they have the lyrics sort of interplay among the scenes. I think that's a cool setting, right? But the problem that I quickly ran afoul of was I didn't know the level of copyright violation that you can quickly incur. And it's something like 3 words or 4. As soon as you can tell that's what lyric it is, your potential. Because I thought, oh, hey, well, you can show a couple lines. It's not that. You can't even get past a couple of words, right? So the next question was, well, hey, so we got this scenes that kind of almost depend on having music in them. And there's like a DJ talking, and she carries her radio everywhere. Actually, that's what you see in this shot right here. She carries this transistor radio with her everywhere. And the idea is, okay, well, then what we've got to do, we got to create our own band, right? And write the lyrics for said band. So what we did, came up with this 1980s shock rock outfit called Turn Back Dorothy. And they have a little bit of like, yeah, right. So they've got, and they're not actually in the story or anything, but when the songs are on the radio and the lyrics are playing, that's which band it is. They're out of Syracuse, New York. And actually, I was going to talk to Aaron about this because I thought what might make a cool stretch goal would be to, like a tour poster would be included in the book, maybe something like that.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd mentioned it to you before. I got to do a T-shirt with the names of the cities on the back.
Right. Yeah, that's a great idea, man. You can see why Aaron is at the top of his craft, because these are the things that, you know, it's hard to come up with goals and things for Kickstarters, right? And I'd love to hear. We'll go around the room and get some opinions about that. I like to see the merch. I just, you know, I'm kind of a one-man show over here, so I don't always have the resources, especially the time, to start getting clothing and stuff produced. Let's go in a circle and see. Rodney, what kind of merch do you like on a Kickstarter campaign?
Well, really quick, we did a guitar pick for Roadkill Rampage.
I did one for ours too.
Yeah, it's just and Tina was like, "What the hell do you want to do a guitar pick for?" And I said, "Because it's horror, you know, it's metal, it's horror, it's 18 to 34-year-old demographic. They're all into metal, and they'll dig it." And it was a huge success. Everybody loved the guitar picks.
Nice. I love guitar picks.
Oh yeah, I've probably got 30 or 40 from decades old.
Aaron, how about you? What kind of things do you like to see as merch?
I mean, I'm a big T-shirt fiend. I think if it's a clever, cool design, then I'm in. I like the weird stuff too. I think Matt and I, when we put together our packages, we just like to do things that we think is fun. So like our second issue of One Last Job, we did. Everyone got a ransom letter. And we soaked them in like tea and stuff. We really made them like messed up. We put like coffee rings on them and stuff. And then I pierced so the person that got taken was the main character's wife. And the front cover of issue 2 has like the reflection of her being dragged out from a pearl earring. So I pierced a bloody pearl earring in everybody's like little message. And that's super cheap for us to do. Just something that brings people into the world that they can do whatever they want with. And then I like really weird stuff too. Like we did for Tilt for the last one. The thing that we've always heard about was everyone always talks about our first page of the first book when he's eating a sandwich on a plane wing. And so I was like, oh, I got it. And this is actually, I just had it next to me by chance, but it's our little sandwich plushies. That people got to pay homage to the thing everyone always brings up.
I've never done the plushies, but I know that's a thing. The Funko Pops too, man.
Yeah.
Okay, Derek, how about you?
I like that stuff.
I'm extremely limited in budget, and again, mostly one-man show. I work in site 12 hours a day, and I just don't have a lot of time to go out and get other things. So what I did for the Sinners, is certain money will unlock Xander, our main character, in samurai armor or as a Victorian queen, or you get to pay X amount of dollars and you get to dress Xander up, or I make posters for you. Or you get to be in one of our books as a cyberpunk character. That's some stretch goals. It's what I can do. I love the guitar pick. I love those. And the murder mystery thing, that is phenomenal.
Yeah.
But I'm just an art monkey, and I hope people like my art.
Man, and I just want to make a quick mention again. I'm so thrilled that we've had the artists here, because I'm one of the writers, right? And without the artists, we wouldn't have got very far without you guys. So thanks, artists, for joining the stream today.
Why are you thanking me? I didn't do anything.
I will say that having the artists in your ring, so to speak, increases your legitimacy as a writer, especially if they're good ones. So, Davey, I think we left off at you. So, for the first thing is, do you have anything live? Do you want me to throw up there, or would you rather just tell us about what kind of merch you like for Kickstarter?
I do have a few live. I have a book of short stories that's out with David Greshel's magazine, Neon Sunrise Publishing. That is a collection of stories. It's called Salvation in Stereo. It's all about stories about music and how it affected you, and how certain songs or bands might have like been a big growth or like monumental time in your life. And it's all, yep, that's the one right there. And
I remember seeing this. Hey, this is a cool concept, dude.
Yeah, I love David Greshel's stuff. It's, like I said, a small magazine that he has, and I was in one last year as well. So he's continued to go on with this, and I really like being able to go in different mediums. And then we also have one with Apollo City Comics that's not launched yet. Should be launching, I believe, on April 14th. And that's a collection of punk rock comics. So one of my comics. Yeah,
Wow.
I'm super excited about that one. I did my first song for that with my buddy Joshua Dobbs. And he's been in the Orlando rock scene or punk rock scene for a long time. So he was kind of coaching me through it. Teaching me everything that I needed to know to put some vocals down, which are still pretty shabby. But
okay, so wait, so you got tell me how it breaks down. Who's writing the songs?
So my buddy Joshua, he goes by Joshua Danger Dobbs in the punk rock Orlando music scene, and he's doing all the hard work for the songs that we have upcoming, and one we have right now for the theme of our comic, which is Belly Rider.
Neat. Okay.
Yeah.
And while I'm on you, Davey, there's a couple of things that are interesting about you, which I want to mention real quick.
Oh, cool.
The first is, my pal, Luis Santamarina.
Yes.
And is he just not the best in the world?
He is. He was talking to me today on WhatsApp, because that's, mainly what he likes to use. And just talking to me about comics and how he's just always thrilled to be doing them. And because we were talking about my script, and we're at a part with Benigno, which is a comic coming out with Scoot imprint, the Scouts imprint.
Congratulations on that, by the way. Good for you, buddy.
Thank you. That was a big one. It's my first one, and I'm super excited to see what happens, coming out later this year. And we were talking about, parts in script where, can be a bit thin, maybe dialogue driven things that are just sort of a setup to the next little point that you're trying to get in the comic. And I'm just asking him, like, let me know if you need any sort of direction on the script. I know this is kind of sparse. And he's like, that's how I like to work, is sort of those skeletons, and really try to act out my characters on the page, just talking about the flow of the page. And I think that's one thing that Luis is just so good at, not to mention his like interesting looking characters, his very stylized characters. That's sort of like,
he has got some freaky characters, man. They're great stuff. And
like
as my thing is, people say to me all the time about how great the books look, and I say, man, that's because of Luis. That isn't because of me.
Yeah. And he's doing what on your books? Is he a full artist? I forget.
He's designs everything, and it starts with. Well, I'll tell you what. We'll come to my book when it goes around the circle. But we will go to Brian. Brian, 2 questions for you, and actually, I do have another piece of art for you. Let's do this, because I just thought this one was cool.
Oh, thank you.
Wow, nice.
Right? These are incredible. This guy's really good. And you did that live while we were on that show.
Oh, wow, that's gorgeous.
I did it live on Rodney's Thursday Night Throwdown.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yep.
So my question for you, Brian, would be this: when you have, because you recently had a Kickstarter campaign, right?
I haven't. I'm about to start another one. I haven't had one since last year.
Okay.
Yeah, so there'll be another one for the 9th and 10th, either the 9th or the 9th and 10th issues of my book, starting here in June.
Nice. And what type of merch do you like?
So I've done all kinds of different stuff. I did T-shirts and Arctic mugs with laser engraving, and those went off really well. But then I didn't. That was my first Kickstarter, and I went in blind as a bat. I had I'm recent to being a comic book writer and artist. I've always doodled around, but full-time job, full-time career, and I only recently started pursuing this a couple of years ago. So I just kind of tried to plan my first Kickstarter and thought how, I would do it. And I didn't know anyone to get any advice from. So I went into it blind as a bat, and ended up the T-shirts and Arctic mugs cost a lot more in shipping than I had anticipated. Especially I didn't account for international, which that was a doozy. But so I did like doing those. Those seem to be pretty popular. I don't know that I would do them again. I do a lot of blank sketch covers of my book, or stickers, commissioned sketches, things like that. I like some of these ideas I'm hearing. I'm over here writing them down, about to steal them, and do things like the guitar picks. And, I love hearing the other creators and their ideas of what they do, because, I'm just, like you said, a one-man show. So I'm writing it and drawing it and putting the Kickstarter together, and, getting an artist or two to do a commission cover for me, or a variant cover for me. So I do get a little bit lost in the details. So having ideas of other things is to give out. It's cool. And then when you mentioned an easy thing, when the letter was mentioned, I'm not sure who meant that or who mentioned that. Sorry, about the handwritten ransom letter.
Yeah.
Well, the beginning of my book, every issue on the inside cover has a letter from either Churchill or FDR or Truman to somebody, either Eisenhower or Commander Van Helsing, from because it's a World War II book. So I'm going to print those, do some individual things with those that I could give out at a certain level for people.
That sounds great, man. That's I love stuff like that.
Yeah. So that's one of the things I really like the idea of. I wouldn't even begin to know where to go about to get a Funko Pop made or anything along those lines. But yeah,
I know that Lori had them made for Path of the Pale Rider, but I think that they're customs. It's not a mold or anything. I did check on that once just to have the mold made. Now this was it would have had articulation. It was a little bit more like an action figure, but the mold was $12,000.
Yeah.
And I remember going, geez, that's going to be a little bit out of my range for a while, But I guess these days you could 3D print something.
Yeah.
And you wouldn't necessarily need to have the. How about you, Rich? What kind of merch do you like when you're buying stuff or selling it, for that matter?
Usually it's prints. Usually it's what interests me are the unusual type of merch. Like
what do you mean by unusual?
Well, I don't know. I mean, let me think. Like something that you wouldn't expect to be part of, like some sort of a wine bottle opener or something with a Deadpool head on it or something like that.
Right. Okay.
I mean, something really just odd, that's something outside of the norm of like having a print or a postcard or a T-shirt or whatnot or something. Anything that's unique, because I mean it takes thought into putting something like that onto a piece of merchandise that you will use far more than one time. And also the reusability of said merch.
Yeah.
I think it's the longevity of the merch itself that adds to the longevity of remembering that, hey, I got this piece of such and such from this independent artist, and I remember this book. I wonder if they put out issue 2 or 3, and then you wind up purchasing it sometimes. It's
Mm-hmm. Right.
I don't know. I think it's something.
Well, hey, listen, Rich, you have a great point. And, we talk about this because at the end of the day, right, we're writers, not shirt makers. And I think that that's the challenge that we all face. And I'd like to hear what you guys thought of this, too. This is a little bit more technical question. But how much time do you put into creativity and how much time do you put into marketing? Do it by percentage. I'll go first, right? Where I want to be is somewhere around 75% creativity and 25% marketing. But currently I'm doing too much marketing. Okay, Rodney, you next. What's your percentage?
That sounds about right for me as well. Because I'm a 2-man show, my wife and I, and it becomes so daunting with, we have 4 titles, or actually 3 titles that we're working on.
Yeah, I should get that up. I'll put that up there too, Rodney. Keep talking.
Yeah, it just gets. I find myself being spread too thin and her being too stressed out. So. But yeah, it's 75-25 is a pretty good split as far as we go.
And when you say you split up your time between you and her, who does what jobs?
She handles the Kickstarters and everything, and I help her somewhat with the graphic designs. She's really come such a long way in the last year or so.
And she's editor too, right?
Yeah, we have a couple of people editing stuff for us. Based on what her time is, whether or not we farm out the editing for somebody else.
Gotcha.
But yeah,
gotcha.
She's gotten really amazing with the Kickstarters, and it's I think she kind of likes it now. Shh.
It's a lot of work to do that stuff, man. It's a lot of work to do that.
Yeah,
stuff.
it is, and I'll be honest. I know very, very. I mean, I know the ins and outs of it, but the intricacies and all that.
Right.
She always tells me your job is to sit there and look pretty and write and draw.
Well, congratulations on one of those.
Exactly.
So let's jump back to Aaron. So now, by the way, Aaron, you do a ton of stuff, right? So you have the podcast. How many episodes of podcasts do you do in a month, let's say?
It really depends on who we have on. Honestly, last year we didn't do much because myself and the co-host, we both at the end of 2021 hit the reset button on our lives for the most part. So last year was kind of an off year. So we're back. We just this week is our 100th episode, and then we're kind of changing the format of the show going forward. But it really just depends on who's able to record when and what it is that we're trying to record. And then I'm the guy that does all the editing, all the posting. So really what I do now is I try to make sure that I have a bunch of tools and a bunch of resources that'll make it a lot easier. So like I've started posting three clips a week, I think, on our social media for the podcast. And I kind of just built a format that I can just drag and drop stuff and kind of let it do its own thing. So I'm trying to get better on the whole spending too much time on the marketing side and not enough time on the creativity side. But luckily, a lot of these things I do, like, making this logo for you and stuff, I get to play in my creative side, even if it's not what I mainly do with writing and editing.
Yeah, and I am, not as familiar with some of your other work, and I definitely want to check that out. I will just, give a quick shout out. The logos came out terrific, and it was a pleasure working with you. Definitely recommend Aaron if you're looking for an iconic logo for your project. He's the guy. And also, you might have me talked into this T-shirt idea. We'll talk about that off camera.
At least a patch, man.
Aaron, you do whole websites too, right?
I do, yeah.
Yeah.
And Aaron, so what's you divide what percentage of your time is purely creative, and then what is your marketing?
I think I'm working off of about a 80-20 now. Yeah, I've been able to balance it a little bit more on the creative side lately.
Not bad. Okay, Derek. So I see you marketing a lot for the Sins book. Do you Sinners? Do you give us your percentages? What is your percentage of creativity, and what is your marketing?
I am very blessed. Again, the Vampire guys gave me their marketing team, which is 2 people, which is great. And then another one of my publishers, Media Press, I've done 4 or 5 books with. He's actually doing all the Kickstarter. So creativity, I'm like at 90%. I wish I could help out more with marketing. That's how we make money. And it is nowadays really hard to market with social media platforms. And I would love to do marketing.
It's a tough thing too, because you got to keep going or you get irrelevant fast.
Got to create, got to put out, got to create, got to put out, and hopefully build a fan base. And that in itself is weird, being asked for autographs or pictures with you. And it is very humbling and weird feeling.
Let's jump over to Davey. I got the right one?
Yeah, that's the website that I have up that I've made on Squarespace. It's Aaron, avert your eyes.
But I want to know a little bit more about the project, because I know a couple of these fellas. And do you have Matthias on letters also?
Yes, Matthias is on letters.
By the way, he is just a fantastic letterer. And I'll give him a shout out too. Of course, he's the Cryptid letterer. And I think he's coming, but make a long story short, he has like a little bit different style for lettering, right? It's a little bit more, it's a more European style than the American.
Refined.
It's more refined. Thanks for saying it. His book builds tend to look very bookish. I'm a fan of his work.
Yeah.
So 2 questions for you then. So what is your percentage? Like what percentage is creativity and what percentage is marketing? And then tell us a little bit more about this project.
Sure. So that's a great question. And I am not a maths guy, and I hate marketing. I like to, you used to be able to, just sort of look at what customers are buying, what stories they like, and you could sort of like focus your energy there. And now we have these algorithms that we're trying to compete with. And, what's an algorithm? Like you're trying to understand what this algorithm might boost you up. So, I think likes are great. Getting that praise online is fantastic, and getting the word out is great. But I still feel like the word of mouth stuff is going to be the most successful of projects, but it takes a lot more time. Like you definitely see people who explode when they get popular with that algorithm, but to crack that, I feel like takes a lot of time off what, I think the focus should be is just finding stories and things that, communicate things with people, and eventually your audience will grow. And, maybe it'll take 10, 20 years, but I think you'll probably be better off for it. So, I want to do the marketing when it comes to making this book, Benigno. And I watched this one guy, and his name always floats my mind, but he's been doing this series about Poe, Edgar Allan, and making into sort of like an all ages book. And I've seen him at tons of farmers markets around Florida. And I think he really is just gaining sort of grassroots base in that way. And I'm excited to go do that, the politicking or pressing the flesh or whatever.
It's how did we say it last night? You got to kiss babies and shake hands.
Yeah, exactly.
You got to shake babies and kiss hands. That's what I do.
Sure.
Yeah.
Shake babies.
Yeah. I think that's the part that I'm looking forward to, the part that's more in line with my personality. The online stuff, I would say I definitely struggle with, but I'll try to do what I think is necessary for the book's success. And Benigno is a tale that's been with me for a long time. I think I'm going on about 4 years of first putting pen to paper and trying to illustrate this El Salvadorian's boys sort of migrant travel away from El Salvador. He's chased out by gang members who were coming to his house to collect their dues that, sometimes we've seen in magazines and articles that happen in these areas. And they're not able to pay. And, his grandmother, who practices in some magic, she casts a spell, and that spell backfires, and it helps them in a way. It gets rid of the gangsters, but ultimately, her son and her daughter-in-law, they perish, and they leave Benigno orphan to her, and with the gang members fully remembering her as a threat. And it zooms forwards about 8 years after that, and they finally track him down, and now he's on the run north, going up through the railways. That is the train of La Bestia, which is a real train, and this is a migrant train that he's going to try to take from El Salvador all the way through Tapachula, Mexico, and up through that border, and where he's hounded and chased by Rodolfo, who's the guy smoking the cigarette there, his gang, and El Perro, the dog, on his trail.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Sounds good, man. So, hey, just a quick question: do you speak Spanish?
No, I don't speak any Spanish.
I don't either. It sure would be handy for when I was chatting with those fellas.
It'd be very handy for my reading too. I read a lot of Spanish literature, but it's all translated, so I'm kind of getting gypped,
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Brian, how about you? What's your percentage what would you say is your percentage devoted to creativity, and then how much marketing your stuff?
I would say about 75, 25. I was thinking 90, 10 until you mentioned like cons and farmers markets, because I do a lot of the cons, like not last weekend, but the weekend before, we were at the Horror Hound convention in Sharonville,
Nice.
and that's just a madhouse and 3 days of nonstop talking to people and shaking hands and kissing babies and getting new fans. Oh, hey, there's
Shaking babies.
So yeah, it's and I guess I'm really not a truly a one show anymore. My fiance acts as my business manager. She does a really good job of pointing me in the right direction with things. And Rodney and Tina, Rodney's wife, has offered to help out with my next Kickstarter. So I'm gonna get some pointers from her because I need them. So I remember after she looked at one of my Kickstarters, she said, "You charge way too low for your books," and I said, "I do." Yes. I said,
Yeah,
okay.
We'll talk about that when we come around, but I raised my prices this time.
Yep. So
people do it a lot more than me.
yeah, it's and when you look around, which is something I really hadn't looked at the prices, it's not, I try to keep my prices low, close to what the printing was going to cost me. So, but that's not, people think that you're not putting out a product that is
Right. And honestly, they're expecting it to be a little bit more on account of the Kickstarter or crowdfunding platform. People are used to that part. It seems like the pain point seems to be around $20. But let me answer a couple of quick comments. Man, I'm really getting into our conversation here, fellas. But man, Vic, you've got a great question. In our black and white edition, we had to decide whether to do a cheaper black and white, but then I put it to it's going to be the chrome enhanced logo. So it's actually a hair more than the regular one. Because really what you're paying for, the page is the same, but the chrome cover is what makes it more. And as far as John Westhoff, my buddy, Drumsticks of Doom, thanks for your support, John. Means the world to me. He's got a terrific book out there too. Actually, several. Don't mean to shortchange you, John. You've got several terrific books in your lineup. So let's see, where do we leave off?
He's working on something with me too.
Oh, no kidding? What are you guys working on?
We're co-writing something together.
No way. Do you want to talk about it? Or is it like super secret?
No, I'm not. No, sure don't. you can ask John that.
All right, all good, man. Well, let's jump back to Rich because I wanted to hear his your percentage between your creativity and your marketing.
Oh God, it's 50-50. Easily.
You do a lot, man. You're always hustling.
Well, it's like this. Let me turn the camera around for a minute. Just give me a moment. Okay, there I am. Yeah, a lot of times, I mean, marketing is half your business right there, especially if you're doing this pretty much by yourself. It's really, really hard to do. You know, it's like its own full-time job, and it takes away from the creativity that you have, especially when you're trying to market it while in the middle or towards the end of the production of your book. I mean, my advice for anything like that is to finish whatever you're doing first and then market it. Like get it to a point where it's like you're about to just letter the book and then it's complete, and then start marketing it and build your momentum up to the launch of your Kickstarter. That takes an inordinate amount of time. It depends on your production schedule. It depends on your production staff. For me, by myself, I published my first graphic novel in 2020. I worked on the art. You're going to love this one. I worked on the art for the first issue of my graphic novel while I was undergoing cancer treatment. So it took about 6 months to do, but I finished it all. And when 2021 came around, I launched it, and man, hours and hours upon hours of promoting, going on podcasts, going on more podcasts, launching the damn thing, continuously going on podcasts after, and then having a closeout podcast. Oh, God, I wouldn't wish it on anybody, I swear.
Hey, Rich, man, thanks for coming on here. I'm glad that you could join us.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's, I mean, going back to what I was saying for a second ago, it's like you need some help. You have to have someone do this for you, or someone do this with you, because it's impossible to do. It really is. It drives you nuts. It really does.
I was already a little nuts when I got here, so that part's not too bad.
I'm already there already as it is. I'm kind of like.
I wanted to tell you guys there's a slim chance that we actually might fund here while we're on the air. But before we all high-five each other, let me explain why. For the first time, I wanted to try something different. I was telling Aaron this. I'm going to be trying a couple of different things. And one of them is, generally speaking, I'm going to talk directly with you about Kickstarter numbers. I'm always kind of guesstimating this thing's probably going to land somewhere around 100 followers, maybe $2,500. Well, I'm hoping it goes through the lull, then comes up to 3,500. Hey, if there's some great ringing the bell, maybe I'll hit $5,000, right? But I am understanding that there is potentially some advantages to setting the lower goal number than the speed with which you hit the number puts you higher in the algorithm, that kind of thing. And I know there's differing opinions on that, but I wanted to try it. And so I did it here today. So our goal for the Call of the Cryptid book is effectively a $500 goal. But you notice the stretch goals all start $2,000, $2,200, $2,400, which to me is where the real meat of the matter is. Because in our case, and I know this is true for several of you, in my case, that we're not raising funds to make the book. The book's made. I'm making it anyway. It's to see how much I can hopefully pay for the print run. And then if there's enough left over, I'll of course start issue number 2. So I did it that way. I'd like to hear what you thought of that idea. Rodney, you got any thoughts on where you set your goal? If it's a benefit to set it low or high?
It depends on who you ask. If you set it too low, there's kind of the perception that, well, some people look at that as they're not too confident in their product. But if you also have to be realistic. How much do you really need? There's a lot of people out there that pad what they need, what they ask for various reasons. But honestly, we go according to just like what we need for the printing and everything. And typically or ideally to pay the artist. And we know we're going to have to go out of pocket for some stuff, but we try to keep it as realistic and reasonable as possible.
Okay.
Because you don't want to, some people, it's just, I don't know. It's weird. It's hard to gauge because of so many different perceptions from so many different people. But
yeah, how about let's jump over to Aaron. Aaron, do you have a say in this? Specifically, do you feel there's any advantage to setting the goals slightly lower to potentially improve an algorithm?
I think it's all chaos, and I honestly don't think it matters at all. So the reason I say this is because I've done 6 campaigns now, and I've done 3 of them were superhero book. One of them was a dark fantasy horror, and the other 2 were a spy thriller. And it just comes down to who the audience is that's on Kickstarter. We did Welcome to Everville, which is our dark fantasy horror, at a $500 thing, because the person that worked on it was the co-owner of Catalyst, Matt, and then I was the writer. So like we didn't come out of pocket to create the book. It was just going to be printing. So we actually ended up having a lot more fun with stretch goals. And that was the one that first kind of put us on the map as far as getting more people that backed it and getting more people that want more of it. And then the superhero stuff, trash. It's just trash. And people that actually sit down and read the book, they really enjoy the book and they'll come back. But getting new people to try a superhero book now is absolutely insane. And then the spy thriller one, that was another one. The first one was, it went really well. And then the second one did pretty well. So there was no rhyme or reason. And these were all different price points for the goals.
Right. Well, and I'm hoping that in my case, I have a little bit of a footing in the sci-fi community. Like I've seen my first 10 backers, I think were all returning backers. Like I recognize their names even. Derek, I know you might have some thoughts about this. You and I talked about it.
Again, going back to the vampire guys, I had a huge goal, something that I'm a nobody. I mean, I'm somebody wanting to be somebody, but I don't have that's Derek Stevens. So it's my first book, and I agree with you, the superhero book. I have some great ideas, but trying to crack that market. So
cracking the superhero market is really hard to do.
Yeah, I really believe that. So I set my goal at 500. We're halfway funded today, but I wanted to do something different. I wanted to marry vampire and Shadowrun because I love fantasy. That's another hard market to get into. With my cybernetic Shadowrun sort of esque thing, I get to run horror, and I get to use magic. So I can have a dragon pulling a billboard banner behind it, and get my fantasy fix like that. The vampire stuff.
This looks cool.
I really do moody sort of artwork. And all the other weird, I don't say weird, but in the first 2 books, because I do psych work, I put a psychological profile of each one of the characters, one character in each book. Aristotle the Orc has 2 guns, one named Bonnie, one named Clyde, and he has schizophrenia. So I delve into that in the psychological write-up. But it also helps push narrative. Somebody was talking about, you don't want not the lyrics, the story to be too sparse. So Bonnie and Clyde get to talk to him and get to see his point of view, and because it's internal, but the readers get something special out of it. It's just like going to the movies. Maybe a great movie, but in a book, you get to hear what the characters are thinking. So I wanted to push that narrative because I like to paint with words, and I want a full spectrum. It's not bang, bang, sexy butt here. Let's do this here. I want it to be a true story. So anyway, back to the goal. It's low 500. I did all the artwork. Andrew did the logo setting, and it's all digital. So we're not really out of any money out of pocket. It's just our time, and I'm hoping it will catch on because I enjoyed it.
I think it looks great, Derek. I think you got something here.
Thank you.
I'm a fan of your art.
It means a lot to me. Thank you for
sure, buddy.
Especially with these guys. I'm seeing what they're doing.
Yeah,
this is. You guys do this, but
we got all the best artists. We got all the good ones here today.
I think it's gorgeous.
It's beautiful,
man. Someone should hire me. I'm really good.
So, Davey, how about you? What kind of goals do you set for your campaigns?
I've never had a campaign. So I've only been associated with campaigns, having a story in a book of anthologies or so forth. So I think my opinion's a little mute on this one.
Yeah, I feel that way. It is true. If you have a short story in somebody's book, you do worry about it less than if it was your own. I can answer that one truthfully.
Yeah.
Let's see, where'd I leave off? Brian? Oh, he might be getting a drink. Brian, you there? Okay. Hey, Brian, how about you? What do you think is appropriate goal setting, and how do you do it?
So I do it based on like what Rodney said. I figure out what it's going to cost me to get the book to a reasonable printing amount and the variant covers. And it's basically my goal per issue is right there, is just at that level of what it's going to cost. And I don't pad it. I don't inflate it, because if you don't make your goal, then you got nothing. If I make my goal, I'm going to have extra books left over that then I can sell at cons. And I do have a lot of people that come back to me at the Horror Hound or Cincy Comic Expo, or that I've been in for a couple of years now. And they're like, hey, do you got any new issues? Because they don't do the Kickstarter thing. They only want to buy the physical copies. So I have them to sell. So I just keep it at that level, just what it's going to cost me to get it printed to make sure I get it done.
Gotcha. Makes sense. Rich, how about you? You there?
I'm sorry, I'm here. I missed the question. I apologize.
How do you set your goals for campaigns, and what are they typically?
Usually, if I'm going to go for a campaign for something, it's the first issue that I release. What I do is I just do a safe total of 1,000. That's it.
Yeah.
I just start with 1,000, and if I make more than double that amount, the next campaign I reach for 1,500 or 2,000, and if that succeeds, I go a little bit higher. And that if it gets to a certain point where it goes past a certain mark, like let's say 3,000, that's when I hire someone else to handle my social media and all my bookings as far as like podcasts are concerned, because that takes more time that I can use for creating instead of having to appear on all these shows, and it brings the awareness up, and with any luck it builds, it compounds almost geometrically. That's how I hope it works. But yeah, I started about $1,000.
Nice. Well, and I'm kind of the same way in the sense that the previous way that I had done it was, you divide up the number of backers and you kind of guesstimate what the number is going to be, and then you print it off of that. This one I did all the printing stuff first. It's the 6th one, so I know what the bill's going to be, and I even know what the shipping is going to be. I could almost tell you without even having to look it up. But in this case, the pressure is going to come from achieving the stretch goals, not being, in my case, 2.5, 3 weeks in and going, oh my God, am I even going to hit this? Like, I can't stand that feeling. And that's the part that doesn't really matter to me, because I don't need it for like sometimes people say, well, I got to recoup $1,200, or I don't. But the truth is, for me, I already spent that money. That's not like, I'm not really trying to recoup my costs, if you follow. So I guess we will see. Right?
Yep.
But hey, that is just about our time. We're getting ready to go out. A couple of quick comments I want to make. First, thanks so much to the artists for sharing their work and for coming on and for talking about cryptids. In many cases this week, we've done a couple of cool things, and there's going to be more coming up. I'm still sharing the artwork around and various things. So thanks for taking part in that. Man, expecting great things from this new book. I really want to say thank you, everybody, for supporting it, and I'm glad to see some early backers. Let's go around the room one last time. Tell us who you are and where we can find your work. Rodney?
Hey, everybody. Rodney Fike. You can find me on the Indie Comics Network on Thursday nights, and tomorrow night we're having on Kelly Jones. So come check us out. She's going to be drawing with us, and we're going to be talking talking shop. So that'll be fun.
Nicely
Also
done.
on Saturday mornings at 10 a.m. for Sketchy Saturdays, and Monday afternoons at 3 o'clock for Fike It, Let's Draw. And I write and draw. Go check us out on the Hasm YouTube channel and hasm.com, HAZZUM.com. And yeah, that's what I do.
Okay, Aaron, how about you?
Yep. So I'm a writer, editor, graphic designer. You can follow me directly on Twitter at Aaron J. Dowen, I believe. And then at Catalyst Comic Studio for the comic book side, and then at Beards Comics for the podcast side. We have a Patreon. We have some stuff coming up. So join the newsletter, I guess, would be the great thing to do. You can find our books. Some of them are already up on Global Comics. The rest are coming up here shortly. And yeah, check out the podcast, and then check out the bonus show every Friday that's on our Patreon, patreon.com/Beards Comics Podcast.
Nice. And thanks really for what you did, Aaron.
Not a problem.
Yeah. Okay, Derek, tell us a little bit about where we can find your work.
All right, so I'm getting a bigger audience now for TikTok. I'm at Derek Stevens Art 0. We have tons of videos that are so great with this book. I didn't really realize this is a love story until it was chopped up with really pretty songs. Like, oh my God, this is a love story. It's a dark one. You can find me at Facebook. Look for the bald guy, Derek Stevens, and Black Void Studios on Instagram. Void has 2 D's in it. And I'm around. I'd love to help any of you guys out, anybody else out. And I'm really humbled to see everyone's art. And Tim, your book, dude, looks amazing. And to be part of this, just thank you to everybody.
Thanks, man. I appreciate you a lot, Derek. Really, thanks for what you did. Let's jump over to Davey. I think I can get a graphic for you too, buddy. Here we go. Pro producing?
Yes,
that's
pro
right,
producing. Yes. Yeah, as you can see, we definitely need some help there. 8 days ago, 685, 20 backers going to 1,000 goal. I definitely recommend it. Yeah,
you got it, man.
I hope so. I've been doing a little marketing, making graphics and stuff. I get sort of bored and get on Canva. But anyways, you can find me at Instagram, Dave_Scribs. You can find Benigno at www.benignocomic.com. That's BENIGNO. It's just Ben in Spanish. And you can find it there, see what's going on. That's coming out in sometime later this year with Scout's imprint Scoot. So very excited for that. I'm a writer, assistant editor, not quite the editor yet at my day job, but hit me up. Love to talk to you about comics and writing and everything like that.
Thanks for coming, Davey.
Thanks for having me.
Okay, Brian, tell us just real quick who you are and where we can find your work.
Brian Neiford. You can find me at Brian Neiford Art on Facebook and Instagram, and on the web, it's BRIAN. It's up there on the screen. NEIFORD and then ART. And I will be launching a new Kickstarter soon. And I got to tell you, Tim, your book looks awesome. All these artists that I'm seeing their stuff thrown up here are awesome, and I'm really humbled to be here, and I'm thankful to have had the invite.
Oh, thank you, buddy. I appreciate what you're doing. And Rich, tell us who you are, buddy. Where can we find you?
All right. Well, my name's Richard Parada. I am co-host with Pops Van Zant on Monday Madness, and I host a live draw stream on Sundays at 1 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, which would be 6 o'clock Greenwich Mean Time here in the UK, where a bunch of indie artists just show up. We have a good time. We draw stuff. We talk about comics, and that's pretty much it. I mean, I have a couple of things in the pipeline, but I'm studying right now for my award in educational training over in the United Kingdom here with ambitions for a PG certification, which is equal to a master's degree of teaching in the United States. And
nice. Well done.
Yeah.
Congrats, brother.
Yeah, thanks, man. And I plan on getting it rather soon. So, yeah, I've always wanted to be a teacher. I wanted to take all the years of experience that I've had and give it to the next generation. And man, are they flourishing with it?
Yeah.
There's a lot of great art. There's a lot. I'm sorry. postgraduate, sophomore in college, if you want to put it in those terms and perspective.
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah, and they're great kids, and there are so many who are excruciatingly talented, truly. And I'm so proud of them all as artists and as individuals and as humans. And it's a pleasure, showing them things that they never discovered before, which to me it just blows my mind. But yeah, I just passed the 6-month evaluation there, and I'm most likely going to be offered a contract for more than a year. And now I know what I'm going to do, and now I know what I have to do. And I'll still draw comics in the end. So,
That's great.
Well,
always, I want to wish everybody the best of luck with their projects. It was really a thrill to have you all here, especially the artists. Thank you for coming and sharing your vision. And thanks for everything you have done. Thanks also to the gang over at the Comic Related Madness for having us on the air. We appreciate being able to do that live. And if you're still in any doubt, drop everything you're doing and run over and support Call of the Cryptid over on Kickstarter right now. Thanks again, everybody. See you soon.
Later, man.
Bye. Thanks, guys.
Good night, everybody.
Good seeing everybody.
Good seeing and meeting everybody. Take care.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.